Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of Elevate Cayman. I'm Dr. Mark Gidari. In today's episode, we are going to discuss the connection between academia and entrepreneurship. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a professor of management and entrepreneurship at the International College of the Cayman Islands. Also, I'm a professor of entrepreneurship and innovation at the University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida. Entrepreneurship education, what are we talking about? Is that a thing? Oh, you can't teach that. I've heard all kinds of different opinions from people. But as an educator and a practical one, I believe everything can be taught, especially the fundamentals, right? Some of you who have watched my earlier episodes constantly hear me talk about where we've come from as children starting out early on. These are our fundamental stages in which the greatest impressions lie on us. Should that not also translate to the different things that we do in our environments, especially education? Absolutely. We remember our elementary school teachers and the classes that made the greatest impressions. Uniquely, I've had the opportunity at the International College of the Cayman Islands to develop two classes in entrepreneurship, Business Entrepreneurship 1 and Business Entrepreneurship 2. Business Entrepreneurship 1, the students get a chance to learn fundamentally the basic processes behind identifying problems to solve, because that's what entrepreneurs do. That's what great companies run by entrepreneurs do. They solve problems. We're all consumers and we want to all know that we're heard and that our problems are addressed. The students then go out into the environment of Cayman and they do the research week by week by week for a period of 10 weeks, gathering data to validate their assumptions about what the problems that they're researching are. Then we come back and we talk about it. We talk about the feedback that we're getting from the other consumers in the Cayman Islands. The end point of this class is, did I clearly, collectively identify that the problem that I thought it was in the beginning was what the audience indicated it was, the audience of other Caymanians? Do they agree? Are they all saying, all these different people saying the same thing? From that endpoint at the end of 10 weeks, the student has an opportunity to decide, do I move on to continue to develop this entrepreneurial project? Do I go back and create what they call in the entrepreneurial world a minimally viable product, where you go out into the marketplace and test it to see with the same group of people that I talk to, does this address your solution? And maybe if it addresses your solution, then you can take additional steps to start bringing it to the marketplace. And I'm just talking about one aspect. Sometimes there's companies that are already out there established. And as a fledgling entrepreneur, you have an opportunity to maybe make a tweak to make it better, right? These are the things that are being taught in the classrooms, in the universities, in schools, even on the island. The Cayman Islands Center of Business Development, the Chamber of Commerce, they all have business classes around entrepreneurship, because everyone realizes that everything in our world can be taught to some degree. And it's not about perfection. It's about learning, trying different things, and if it doesn't work, pivoting, that's another term in entrepreneurship, and trying again. In today's episode, we are going to go and have the opportunity to hear from one of the administrators at the International College of the Cayman Islands, Miss Melisa Hamilton, who for the past 11 years have been exposing management students in the Cayman Islands to experiential experiences overseas. What am I talking about? She takes groups of students overseas to different companies to experience entrepreneurship. Most recently, she took a group of students to California, to Silicon Valley, the home of technology. The students had an opportunity to visit Google, Apple, NVIDIA, and really be immersed into what the culture and society of entrepreneurship looks like. It's not like what we all have thought from the past. It's sitting in the classroom. It's getting out there, like I have my students do, getting out there, talking to people, going on these experiential experiences so you get to feel it and really understand and see the nuances in between that. So I hope you enjoy our Elevate Showcase with Miss Melisa Hamilton. Let's elevate Cayman. All right, everyone, welcome back to the portion of the show, the Elevate Showcase, where we get an opportunity to meet someone that is doing something in the realm of entrepreneurship on the island. And my objective here again is to expose you to a lot of different types of individuals, entrepreneurs, movers and shakers, organizations that are moving along this continuum of elevating Cayman. This afternoon, we have Miss Melisa Bent Hamilton, who is the Registrar at the International College of the Cayman Islands, one of the premier universities on the island, a private institution. And not only does she lead academic operations, but she also leads the accreditation efforts, program development, and student support systems. I thought she was a key person to highlight in this episode to expose some of you who may not be aware of what's going on in the field of academia in the Cayman Islands in regards to entrepreneurship. When I started as an instructor at the International College of the Cayman Islands, I got a chance to sit in on a entrepreneurial program seminar, which Miss Bent Hamilton was leading in the United States, where they took a group of students to Atlanta, Georgia, and they were exposing them to the entrepreneurial ecosystem that was there. Again, unlike a lot of different subjects, entrepreneurship can be learned from a lot of different ways. And I think the thing that's most important about that is that our youngest persons on the island are being exposed to this rich culture of entrepreneurship through the lens of academia. Most recently, Ms. Hamilton will touch on the trip that they took to Silicon Valley, where you find a lot of tech entrepreneurs, and I'm excited to hear about that. But without further ado, Ms. Hamilton, thank you so much for your willingness to join us and to share in your experience here. Again, as you know, we are trying to elevate the mindset here in Cayman around entrepreneurship, and one of the crucial pathways is through education, through school, and we know that this is a big thing. So in my introduction, did I miss anything?
No, you pretty much said it very clearly, very succinctly. Thank you, Dr. Gidari, for having me on this show. I think it's a fantastic move in a time like this when we want to, push, promote, encourage that culture of innovation, of being resourceful, of being resilient, and so I'm excited that I'm a part of the ecosystem because I'm a part of the institution that helps prepare students, persons for that in terms of, the new workforce. And you have to innovate, you have to adapt, you have to, critically think, all that good stuff to be able to be competitive, because now you're competing at the global level. So you've done pretty good in terms of introducing. So I'm ready to take on some questions.
So I think the thing that I know our audience would find fascinating is this connection with academia, right? Colleges and schools and entrepreneurship. How did you connect these dots to be able to find that this is something important to expose young Caymanians to?
Absolutely. Our core programs are business. And right now, especially with the advent of artificial intelligence, the business landscape is changing, right? And therefore, I have been promoting this for a while now because I believe we should push, encourage our students to be innovators, to be creators, to critically analyze, to come up with new ideas, creative ideas, and therefore having that entrepreneurial mindset, or doing the actual training in becoming an entrepreneur will help students to get to that next level, because gone are the days where it was okay for you to learn theory and a bit of practical and that's it. Now you get into the workplace, it's different. AI is taking over those automated processes, right? And so what is left? Critically thinking, be able to pivot, be able to adapt, and that needs human. It needs human intervention. And so I believe that that's a course that everyone, whether you're planning to actually own a business or not, but you need to develop that mindset to be able to adapt, to innovate, to create, for us to have that sort of innovative culture right here in the Cayman Islands. So I've been promoting that and pushing that, and I'm happy to say for a few years now we've started two entrepreneurship course called Business Entrepreneurship 1 and 2 that you, Dr. Gidari, teaches for us. So thank you. Absolutely. And we're also looking to, actually build out an entire certificate program, because we know persons want to come in, get something that they can use right away and run with it to be able to, improve their own productivity and, have some sort of professional development as well.
Why, Melisa, is entrepreneurship important to you? Let's dig deeply on this, because you could be involved in anything else, right? And ICCI celebrating its 50th plus anniversary this year has been on the island educating the workforce, elevating Cayman before even this show, right? What we do here as instructors and administrators eventually impacts on the economy and the bottom line. And that's one of the things that I found very impressive when I was initially looking at a place to teach. But where does that come from with you? Why? Why entrepreneurship?
It's in our ethos. It's in the way we learn. You're talking about starting with an idea and being able to take that idea to fruition. So you actually develop a sort of entrepreneurial mindset very early, the minute you say you're going to enroll in college. And so my background, I did my master's at ICCI. It's my alma mater. And that foundation strike that chord with me to say, hey, I'm always thinking, how can we do this better? How can we innovate? How can we grow? How can we be more resilient? How can we be more sustainable? So it starts from there, having that education, developing that skill set, having that mindset. And then you find that, okay, how do you get others on board? Offer the course, immerse, do other things. For example, when I take students on an international seminar, what you'd call an immersion seminar, is taking them outside of the textbook, outside of the classroom, and putting them right there where the action is happening, right? Right there where you would say the rubber meets the road, and for them to see firsthand, get that first-hand exposure as to what is actually happening in the industry. Because the truth be told, a lot of our textbooks are outdated, right? And it will always be limited. But being in the industry, being right there on the ground, there's no better learning than that. And so I'm always excited, always happy when I get to do these immersion seminars with our students. And of course, to push them with your ideas. A lot of young people have great ideas and they want a channel, Mark. They want a channel as to, what do I do with these great ideas? Do I have to go overseas? No. You can actually start right here in the Cayman Islands. You can start locally and build from there, scale if you want to later on.
You're right. Foundationally, what we've been able to accomplish together, as colleagues in the classroom. So one of the things Melisa touched on is the opportunity that I had to develop two courses at ICCI, Business Entrepreneurship 1 and Entrepreneurship 2, which have given students the foundational elements to start with entrepreneurship. And this is where a lot of my passion is because there's so many different facets to anything in life that we can study. But foundationally, we are creatures of where we start from. And I give them the little bits and pieces of where to start. And we are all consumers, right? We all have issues and problems to solve. And it's challenging. It's engaging for the students in our classrooms to step into a different type of classroom scenario where you are out in the field of Cayman, exploring what are the problems, and does everyone share the same idea about a problem? Because all of us in our own right as human beings feel that we are the smartest things on the planet. And if we have an idea, we can make it happen. Yes, this is true. But fundamentally, if we have a collective consciousness or understanding that a problem is not our own, but everyone's, we may be onto something that we can continue to research and test to see if there's a valid opportunity or a solution. And I think our students have really had some eye-opening moments with the tools and techniques that we've used in the classroom. So I think adjunctively, one of the things that I, again, think that you're doing and have done that has been very impressive is getting the students, like you said, out into the environment. Tell us a little bit about this experience in California recently at Silicon Valley. How many students did you take out there? Where'd you guys go? I saw these amazing pictures on the internet and I was jealous. How come no one asked me?
We'll definitely ask you next time. We'll definitely make sure you're on the list. But I had 11 of our business undergrad students, and they had different areas of specialization, and they were excited. Some of them are IT majors, some of them may not necessarily be IT majors, but they're business majors, right? And we went to the hub. We went to where it all comes together. And there's no other tech hub really, if you're talking in this side of the world, than Silicon Valley. And so we didn't want to shortchange them. We want to go right to the core. And so the students were able to get firsthand exposure to how artificial intelligence is really changing the business landscape. Because what they found was how a lot of companies have leveraged artificial intelligence to make their processes smoother, more efficient, faster. And so AI is no longer it's more yes. we want more because we understand more. One of the things when sometimes persons resist anything that's new is because they don't know. So what we're teaching our students is for them to know about artificial intelligence and how they can use it for their advantage. How can they use it in their businesses? And so when we looked at other, companies in California, in Silicon Valley, one of their assignments was that they had to look at what are some of those AI adoption that they could apply right here to a local company in the Cayman Islands. So that was exciting to hear them say that. Some of the companies we went to, because I know you had asked a question, went to Google, went to Apple, went to Nvidia, went to Plug and Play, massive innovation hub. They're able to do a lot of venture capitalism goes on there. We went, some smaller companies. We went to the Intel Museum, where it all started, right? So we had a great time. We only had 6 days, too short, but we had a great time. The students learned a lot. They were, hugely surprised when they saw the driverless cab. They call it the robot car. They were even more excited when some of them decided to take the robot car. And so it was very fascinating just watching them, just in awe of everything that they see happening around them, learning like, wow, is this thing taking place for real right here? So it was good. And so they walk away with the knowledge, the experience, and then also for them now to think, how can I apply some of these back home, right? What are we lacking in Cayman? How can we innovate? How can we grow? How can we develop a sort of Silicon Valley right in Cayman Islands? And the presentations were very, very good. The students, they really, thought outside the box. And I am superbly impressed. At one point, I even said to a group that did a presentation to one of the only live company that we had, because they made some good feedback for them. And I said, I'm going to, pair you with some reps that I have there and make sure that you get to share some of these AI adoption that the company could probably look into.
Sounds like a wonderful, wonderful experience. I'm just so excited that these students got an opportunity to travel all that way and see greatness. One of the things I tell the students in the classroom is that all the companies that you see around you, big or small, it was an idea in someone's mind. And sometimes that's all it is. Sometimes it's a conduit like yourself or myself to position people to say, this is possible, the doorway can open. And most importantly, as I always remind them, that the fact that they're here pursuing their education and learning these things, they are impacting the economy in a further manner. So I'm going to close on one thing here, because I think sometimes what's important is that we all practice what we preach, right? And it ends to a certain level of validity, that not only are we teaching these type of things, but we are doing these type of things. And one of the things that I know about you that the audience may not know about is that you are a entrepreneur yourself, and that you have gone out and have an idea and tested an idea. And tell us a little bit about that process that you went through, especially going through that competition that you did, which is very important for some entrepreneurs as they move along the continuum, to be able to pitch their idea about that. Not so much about the competition. Yes, that's good, but it's more so the pitching piece of it and what that all represents in our current world of entrepreneurship.
It all started when a friend of mine said, fail fast, fail forward, go ahead. You've been very excited about entrepreneurship. You're always promoting, pushing, encouraging students. What about you? And I said, you know what? Absolutely. And I said, I'm going to do it. One of the good things is that at the time, there was that need. So the need is very important. It was locked down, everywhere. You had limited movement and all that. And a person still needed, items, food, whatnot. So I had started a delivery company during COVID. It went very well. That experience allowed me to enter with my partner into the competition. So the Cayman Islands, CEC, right? They have a business idea competition. And so I wanted to get further funding for it, because I wanted to, have an app and actually scale and have, more investment in the company. And so I decided to go for the training, because you actually get trained during the time that you're preparing yourself, and then you have to pitch on the night of. It was nerve-wracking, but it was fantastic. You're in front of a group of investors, government officials, friends, business owners, and they want to know, what is the next big idea? I am telling you, it was really something. And I encourage my students. I will share, often share my experience in doing the competition, and the exposure and the experience that I gained. You can't buy that anywhere. And so, and of course, you network, because even today I'm a part of the, they have these various WhatsApp groups or communication that sends out, tell you what is happening with CEC, and for you to, meet other companies, other investors. So there's always something to encourage and to help you as you advance your business. So I encourage all my students to go for it. Just take that risk. Of course, you have to take calculated risk, but you should go ahead, give it a go. You never know where it lands you. And I was happy to be a part of it, and I would do it again. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with the audience. In closing, any final words for our audience in regards to anything entrepreneurship, anything related to academia, and your thoughts on that matter?
Absolutely. Education is something that is invaluable. You can't put a price tag on it, really. It takes you from ignorance to knowledge, to growth, to development, all of that. So I'm saying to, especially my young Caymanians, young persons coming up in society, want to make their mark, get the necessary skills, whether it's an entrepreneurship program, it's an entire degree, get your training that you need to get to the next level. You know, you might see yourself that, hey, I'm on an island, but guess what? Don't limit yourself to this island, because you can build locally, but think globally. Think, how can I actually be, you know, the next Bill Gates, whatnot? It starts somewhere. He started it somewhere, right? So it's the same thing I'm saying for us today. We need more innovators, more creators. It can happen right here in Cayman Islands. It starts from you saying, I have an idea, and you not sit on the idea, you run with it, you get the necessary skills, you talk to persons. Myself, you know, if you want to get into college, Dr. Gidari, you find a mentor and you go for it. If any program is going on, like these business ideas, you know, competitions, go for it, get involved, put your foot out there. You never know where it will take you. But never stop doing and growing and expanding, really.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hamilton, for all of those words. So many pearls of wisdom in the world of entrepreneurship that you've offered. You know, I had a conversation with a close friend recently who just started up a t-shirt company, and his idea around that is sustainability, and not us just throwing away things, but maybe reusing things. Fantastic idea, because we're in a societies where we have so much, right? And how do we do that when we know sometimes we can repurpose things? So in our conversation, just like in conversations I've had with you, so much we focus on the end point and maybe what we see others doing and these fanciful things on TV, but it's more about starting, right? Starting the process and continuing to test it out and having the courage to do that and to fail. In some of my earlier episodes, I talked about us, the child, pulling ourselves up and falling and crying and getting back up. And that's how, until we kind of figured it out. And as adults, it feels very difficult, I know, to do that. Trust me, I'm an adult too. But it's okay, because that's the part of evolution, right? So the one thing I would say to for the students that are listening is engage in the entrepreneurship and experiential opportunities that are at the universities in the Cayman Island, like ICCI, and some of the amazing things that are happening there with the entrepreneurship coursework and the experiential opportunities overseas. I like the fact that you said, think locally, but explore globally. I hope I got that right. And then also join entrepreneurship activities, events. I know there's different entities on the islands, like you mentioned, the CEC, of the Chamber of Commerce, and also the Cayman Islands Center for Business Development, which fosters a lot of training and competitions that kind of get to test you as the preliminary or the fledgling entrepreneur, but also train you along the way. Again, elevating Cayman and supporting it. For the businesses that are listening in, explore partnerships with ICCI and some of the other universities on the island. Support any of these student-led innovation product. And then for the greater community, finally, participate in any of these seminars and workshops that are being offered, just to expose you to these things. You know, there's a community of people that, as you can tell, like myself and Melisa, that are excited about this. And entrepreneurship education was not a thing in school before, but now it is in 2025. And lastly, for the businesses and the community, learn how to become mentors or collaborators with the young people or the older people or anyone in the idea trying to do it. It's so important that as we explore ideas, that we are able to support each other in these journeys. And sometimes it's just being open to, what has your journey been? How do you get there? How do I get to certain resources? And that's all that it's about a lot, is being able to connect the dots. So thank you again very much this evening, and thank you, audience, for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to our next Elevate Cayman Showcase. Good evening. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Miss Melisa Bent Hamilton from the International College of the Cayman Islands. What an awesome place we're in education. And in this episode, we discuss the connection between entrepreneurship and education and what's going on. What's going on in the classroom and what's going on experientially. Support our students. Supporting our students will lead to greater outcomes as they start businesses, grow businesses, and positively that only further impacts and grows the economy. Join me again for another episode of Elevate Cayman, where we discuss the movers, the shakers, and the topics around this exciting topic of entrepreneurship. Let's elevate Cayman.